the last video of part A, 8.4, servlets working with HTTP. Yeah. Here, we need to talk about HTTP protocol. Okay, yeah. All right, so let's look at the dirty work in web container. Yeah. First, web container. Yeah, let me talk about web container, this terminology a little bit, because here it is my first time to talk about the web container terminology. Yeah. Think about when you have a special Java technology. Here we talk about servlet technology. You need to have some special software running environment. Here, let me talk about that. Some special software. Special with respect to JVM. We know Java Virtual Machine, JVM, create software running environment for Java, right? JVM. That is the general running environment for Java. But we need something special. Yeah. So here we talk about special software running environment. All right? Yeah. So that special thing we call container. That's the meaning of the container. So web container, so we know we mainly do the web related dirty work. Now here the dirty work, things very complicated, very difficult for our programmers, very difficult. We don't want to deal with that part. Yeah. So we leave to the web container. Yeah. So that's the reason. Yeah. Although we do not need to deal with them directly, but I want to talk about what happens behind the scene. Otherwise, a lot of things we cannot understand. If you do not try to understand what happens behind the scene, then a lot of things very difficult to understand. So that's the reason in this class, I will spend a lot of time to talk about those things behind the scene. All right, first, convert the raw HTTP request to Java object, to special Java object. What's special Java object? Look at here. This is the Java class name called HTTP Servlet Request Java class. So this is a special Java class. And then raw HTTP request. What's that? Raw HTTP request. Do you have a little bit HTTP knowledge? A little bit? Basic HTTP knowledge? A little bit? Now, some of you may not have. You heard of this word, HTTP, right? But what is the detail inside HTTP? Do you have any idea about that? Yeah. I believe for this class, more than half of the students, more than half in this class, yeah, probably more than 2/3, you may not know the HTTP details. Yeah. So I may find a chance to talk about that. Yeah. Later, when I find some, good place, I will talk about HTTP knowledge a little bit, structure. Yeah. All right. So here, you just know a lot of special request information is encrypted in a special way, HTTP way. HTTP protocol specify a list of rules. Following all those rules, the data our users send to this Java web application has to be encrypted following HTTP rules. All right, here we just understand in the general way. So what are those rules? Later at some time, I may select some important rule, basic rules. I can talk about that. Then you can understand even better when we try to imagine things that happen behind the scene. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that kind of data the user send to our Java web application is encrypted following HTTP rules. Regarding encryption, we need to talk about decryption, right? Encryption, decryption. Yeah, we need to talk about decryption. So at the receiver side, our server, Java server, our server at the receiving side, we need to do decryption. We need to do decryption, right? But that kind of dirty work, very messy, very tedious decryption work. We don't want to do that. We as a Java programmer, we don't want to do that. Okay? So we leave that dirty work to web container or servlet container. Sometimes people call servlet container because servlet container, JSP container, they are together. We just call web container. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. Then the dirty work, after the dirty processing work, the processed information is stored in a special Java object, this Java object. We just use this Java object. Then we retrieve the information pieces from our users. Yeah. All right. Interpreting the request and reading the headers and parameters from the socket. Yeah, here, this little sentence, this sentence gives you a little more information about the dirty work. What kind of dirty work? Yeah, you just get a little more. Interpreting the request. Okay, parsing the data inside the request, HTTP request. So what is HTTP request? A block of text. That block following HTTP structure. So then the processing part need to extract information from that, whole block. Yeah. So that step you can call interpreting step. All right. Try to understand. Data stored in that block, interpreting. Okay, yeah. Reading the headers. Yeah. There is a header part. You need to get information from the headers. Yeah. Reading the headers. Yeah. And the parameters. Yeah. The user may send some parameters. Yeah. How to store the parameters? Later, I will use some examples to show you. Yeah. We will get to that point. Okay, all right. From the socket here, the socket, so this is a concept about, networking concept. Socket, yeah. Sending data, so you need a pipeline, right? You need a, channel connecting two sides, client side, server side. That channel, we use a socket Java object to model that. Java object, socket object, yeah, represent the communication channel, connection, yeah. So that part, lower level data processing, we do not need to deal with it, yeah. Too much low level work, yeah. We just focus on the high level business related work. We don't want to deal with the low-level communication-related work. Okay, yeah. But here I mentioned this word, the socket word, the networking terminology. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Convert the return Java object. Yeah. After processing, you need to process the data back to your users, right? In what way you send the data back, right? Yeah. So you need to store the processed data in another special Java object called HTTP Servlet Response object. All right? Yeah. It's a Java object. standard Java object. But you cannot send this standard Java object directly to the users, because at the user side, the browser cannot understand that. Okay, at the user side, use web browser, right? The browser cannot understand HTTP servlet response object directly. It cannot. Yeah. So for that reason, a conversion step is necessary at the server side. Your web container or servlet container needs to convert this Java object to HTTP response object, another block of text. HTTP response object, another block of text. That conversion. So that object, the browser can understand that object, HTTP response object, okay, and send that HTTP response object back to the client, to our users. Okay, so then the browser can render the page. Okay, yeah. So that's the, typically what we need to do, or typically what happens behind the scene. Yeah. All right. A little more information. Formatting the response headers. When you set the block, HTTP response block, you need to put, some special information in the response headers, and, some data put in the response body. Yeah. So then writing them back to the socket. Yeah. That channel, that communication channel is still there. Yeah. You just use that concrete communication channel, send data back, then cut off, okay? Stop the communication, cutting off that connection channel, okay? To release the memory resource. After you cut off, release memory resource. To release memory resource. Because other users need to use that resource, connection resource. Okay, so you don't want to make one particular user occupy that precious resource for a long time. That's not efficient. So that's the way, to deal with the communication, mechanism. The whole communication mechanism in that way. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Next, what HTTP servlet request and HTTP servlet response can do. Yeah. So now we need to get into these two classes and see what we should do inside it. Yeah. Here we just get a general view, and then later when we work on examples, we will see the, detail. Yeah. HTTP servlet request. Yeah. Read parameters passed from the client. How to read? We have special methods we can read. Okay, because we have an object, right? We have this object, and this object has many get methods, get some properties, get methods. We just call those get methods. We can read all these parameters. Yeah. Accept files uploaded from a posted form. Yeah. So when user upload file, then we can also, retrieve the content from that object. Okay. Yeah. Read the raw data contained in the request body. Raw data contained. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Read request headers. We have get method, many get methods we can use to, read data from request headers. Yeah. So we will see some concrete examples later. All right, yeah. Then for the response, manipulate response headers. When we need to do something special, we need to set appropriate response headers. Yeah, you will see in our examples. Yeah. After that, write response content back to the client. Yeah. After that, yeah, we will see, basically we write text, right? And we write, response text, HTML content in that way into the response. Yeah. All right, so that's our last video, 8.4. Yeah. And we complete the whole part A right here.